The following is a presentation of New Worker Radio. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily represent those of WZML, its staff, or management.
Hello, and welcome to New Worker News on WZML 92.9. My name is Manolis, bringing you national and international updates from a worker's perspective.
In national news, the U.S. Justice Department reached a deal with Boeing on May 23rd, allowing it to avoid criminal prosecution over the 737 MAX crashes in Indonesia and Ethiopia in 2018 and 2019. The deal follows Boeing's alleged deception of the FAA regulators about the MCAS software, which caused two crashes, killing 346 people and led to a 2021 criminal charge and settlement. Boeing agreed to pay over $1.1 billion, including $445 million to victims' families, must keep an independent compliance consultant, and the fraud charge will be dismissed once finalized. Paul Cassell, speaking on behalf of numerous families, expressed that the resolution ensures Boeing faces financial consequences, delivers closure and restitution to the victims' families, and promotes improvements in airline safety, while some families and legislators called for more rigorous measures of responsibility. The agreement implies financial and compliance reforms, but leaves some relatives disappointed for lack of prosecution, and Boeing's federal contractor status remains intact without a criminal conviction. If we look at the average annual revenue of Boeing over the past 5 years, we can find that it is approximately $66.3 billion. The money they owe, hardly a slap on the wrist. The case demonstrates, once more, the bourgeois state as the collective representative of the capitalist class. In a time where the monopolies of the military industry are seeing huge dividends and being called upon to increase their role and production for the threat of war, we are reminded that the interests of the capitalists are the guide to all governments, not the interest of the workers and people. There is no such thing as a fair capitalism. For years, the airline industry has been an intense field of competition. We cannot forget the massive deregulation package passed by the Carter administration and carried on by Reagan, which aimed at cutting costs and improving competition. And what followed? The loss of thousands of experienced workers to cut costs further. These plane crashes are not something out of the blue. They are the criminal responsibilities of all U.S. governments. In other national news, in New Jersey, a large-scale strike occurred from the morning of Friday, May 16th, until Tuesday. Those on strike were the commuter rail drivers for the public transportation company, New Jersey Transit. They decided to go on strike after failed collective bargaining negotiations. Rail service was halted as early as midnight Friday night, leaving approximately 350,000 commuters without a functioning means of transportation every day. The strike was led by the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen Union, BLET, which has long demanded a pay increase for train drivers who have not had a raise in 5 years. Negotiations between the company and the union broke down when the parties could not agree on financial terms. The union cited how the company has money for a new headquarters, penthouse views, and side projects, but not for the wages of the workers. As expected, all bourgeois news outlets wasted no time in peddling stories of angry commuters and passengers attempting to drive the wedge between the workers and people and crush solidarity. According to New Jersey Transit, the average salary today is $135,000 per year. However, the union believes the actual average salary is lower, about $113,000, and an increase to about $170,000 is needed to reach the industry standard. New Jersey Transit CEO Chris Kaluri claims such a level would jeopardize the company's existence and that the cost of meeting the union's demands would amount to $1.36 billion over 5 years. At the same time, the strike itself would incur additional costs of $4 million per day for alternative transportation solutions. The dispute quickly escalated into a logistical nightmare for the region. Limited rail replacement bus service is estimated to carry only 20% of regular rail passengers. While union representatives expressed a willingness to continue negotiations, they accused the employers of prematurely withdrawing from the talks. New Jersey Transit, in turn, believes the union has unrealistic expectations and is attempting to maximize its demands after previously agreeing to a settlement. Prior to the strike, several experts warned of the economic and social consequences of a prolonged strike. The strike encompassed what is considered the backbone of the New Jersey transportation system. The strike has the potential power to cripple major traffic routes and significantly increase car traffic. The strike clearly demonstrated how vulnerable a society becomes when the needs of the working class are ignored in favor of the fiscal discipline of capital. New Jersey Transit is a public service, but it is run according to the same logic as a for-profit company, where workers' wages are viewed as a burden rather than a right. The fact that the union is forced to resort to strikes to negotiate a deal after 5 years without wage increases is a reflection of the power imbalance that characterizes the capitalist mode of production. Even in publicly funded companies, it's also telling that the employer would rather spend millions on crisis measures than meet reasonable wage demands. But the working class is showing its strength by paralyzing train traffic, and the train drivers are showing who really keeps society running. In more national news, the U.S. determination to fight to the end using military, economic, and all other means to maintain primacy in the international imperialist system in the face of what it calls serious threats from China, Russia, and other countries, who are themselves determined to defeat the United States in every area, was underlined by United States Vice President J.D. Vance during a graduation ceremony at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis. He noted that after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, U.S. policymakers believed that American dominance on the world stage was assured and that no foreign nation would emerge to challenge us. This assessment stemmed from the fact that, quote, our leaders chose to prioritize soft power over hard power and allowed U.S. manufacturing to decline from cars and computers to naval ships and future weapons. This decision, of course, was driven by the goal of maximizing profits for American monopolies at that stage. As Vance emphasized, the era of unquestioned U.S. dominance has ended, and the country now faces serious threats from China, Russia, and other countries determined to surpass the United States across all sectors, from low-orbit satellites to supply chains and telecommunications infrastructure. In this context, he defended the Trump administration's approach and the rearrangement aimed at protecting the interests of American monopolies in this global competition, describing it as a policy shift with deep implications for the duties that each of you, referring to the officers of the United States Armed Forces, will be called upon to carry out. No more unfinished missions, no more open-ended conflicts, the American vice president stated, emphasizing that when you are sent to war, it will be with clear objectives and with the most advanced force and weaponry in the world. At the same time, amid the usual imperialist rhetoric of democracy and freedom in this phase of global rivalries, he criticized earlier aspects of U.S. foreign policy, such as the so-called nation-building efforts in the Middle East, and instead called for a strategy rooted in realism and focused on protecting vital national interests, where any use of military force would be deliberate, decisive, and effective. He also advocated for U.S. technological leadership and innovation so that it can face the challenges against competitors, emphasizing that the United States Armed Forces should be strengthened with new systems and new technologies that will ensure the U.S.'s primacy in the imperialist system. More on national news, an investigation into Harvard University's so-called collaborations with foreign adversaries of the United States is reportedly being initiated by American lawmakers, both Republican and Democratic, who, according to reports, sent the government a relevant letter against the backdrop of a series of measures with which the Trump administration is targeting the specific institution amid political disputes that are flaring up on many fronts. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced the revocation of Harvard's right to admit foreign students. The measure was suspended after university officials appealed to a federal court in Massachusetts. In addition, Noam had labeled Harvard responsible for inciting violence and anti-Semitism, a charge also linked to the operation to suppress demonstrations in solidarity with the Palestinian people. Homeland Security also cited Harvard's connection to Chinese institutions or individuals linked to military research, as well as an entity that has been blacklisted by the Trump administration for alleged human rights abuses. A spokesman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry stated that, quote, China has consistently opposed the politicization of educational cooperation, adding that all this United States move will achieve is tarnish their image and reputation in the world. President Trump addressed the issue, stating that authorities are still awaiting the list of foreign students from Harvard. He criticized the billions of dollars spent, calling it excessive, and said that the goal is to determine how many radicalized individuals among them should be denied re-entry into the country. He expressed that ultimately the government will prevail. Trump propagandistically stated that, I am considering withdrawing $3 billion in grants from the highly anti-Semitic Harvard to give them to business schools across the country. The Trump administration has already canceled more than $2 billion in grants to Harvard, which is the wealthiest university in the United States. In international news, when Donald Trump gathered the U.S. capital elite to visit Saudi Arabia, it was not a simple diplomatic initiative. It was an imperialist strategy meeting between the world's most powerful capital groups. Among the participants, we saw Elon Musk, Larry Fink, Jeff Bezos, Jane Fraser, Sam Altman, Jensen Huang, Alex Karp, and other tops in finance and industrial capital. Their common goal? To secure raw materials, infrastructure, data flows, and markets, and to consolidate the U.S. bloc in the inter-imperialist struggle against China. The Saudi elite that Trump and the corporate elite encountered is not some medieval exception. It is a fully fledged capitalist class, disguised in religious and monarchical veneer. Their wealth comes not from agriculture or serfdom, but from the exploitation of the proletariat of the oil workers, construction workers from Bangladesh, factory workers from Pakistan, and Saudi wage workers without power or voting rights. They own companies like Saudi Aramco, SABIC, and various investment funds that play in the same division as BlackRock and Raytheon. The U.S. relationship with Saudi Arabia is not an alliance between nations. It is a unity between two capitalist power centers with different roles in the world market. The U.S., at the top of the capitalist hierarchy, stands for military protection, technological dominance, and global political control. Saudi Arabia's regional capital stands for resources, labor, and repressive stability. Together, they constitute a machinery for continued imperialist dominance in the Middle East, against the interests of the working class. When liberals celebrate this type of cooperation as pragmatic realpolitik, they hide the fact that this is happening in parallel with ethnic cleansing in Palestine, with occupations, bombs, censorship, and executions. It is no coincidence that Trump is visiting Saudi Arabia at the same time that Israel is clearing Gaza. Both events are part of the logistics of imperialism, where every conflict, every base, every corridor has an economic purpose, to protect the circulation of capital, not the freedom of peoples. The order of imperialism has been built over the long term. Against it, we set our vision of a socialist world. We also see how this imperialist order has been built. The concept of the Greater Middle East was formulated under Bush and refined by Obama, but now it is being implemented without shame, without a mask, under Trump's open leadership. The planning of the capital groups is long-term, purposeful, and deadly. That countries like Syria and Ukraine have opened up their natural resources to capital is not a coincidence. It is the price of fattening capital in a system where everything is measured in profit and gain. What is missing from this world order is an organized, internationalist, revolutionary proletariat, a class-conscious response, not from bourgeois nation-states, but from the workers of the world. It is not oil dictatorships or tech billionaires that will liberate us, but the class struggle, planned economy, and the dictatorship of the proletariat. It is our task as communists to say this clearly, to organize ourselves accordingly, and to expose that capital's eternal hunger for profit and control is hidden behind every trade delegation, every AI startup, and every peace talk. Against this, we set our solidarity, our organization, and our vision of a socialist world free from imperialist blocs and exploitation, free from imperialist military wars and their trade wars, where resources are distributed according to need and not profit.
You've been listening to New Worker News on 92.9 FM WZML, your home for local, national, and international news, all from a working class perspective. New Worker News is the official organ of the Communist Workers Platform. If you're a worker, we would like to hear from you. You can reach us at cwpusa@protonmail.com. Again, that's cwpusa@protonmail.com. If you would like more news from a worker's point of view, visit us at newworker.us. You can find weekly articles on events happening all over the country and internationally. If you've enjoyed the program and wish to see more working class reporting, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/New Worker. And thank you for listening to New Worker News on 92.9 FM WZML.